You're listening to
the Beer O'Clock.
The Beer O'Clock Show.
You're listening to the Beer O'Clock Show.
It's Beer O'Clock, and this is the Beer O'Clock Show. My name is Mark, and joining me, as always, is my beer buddy, Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hi, Mark. How you doing?
All right, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Got a big old show this week. This is the Homebrew Special, that part of the season everyone looks forward to. And joining us, we have three home brewers. So from Nostromo Brew, we have Rob Woodland. Hello, Rob.
Hey there, Mark. How you doing?
Fine. We have Paul Hadfield. Paul, hello.
Hi, good to be here.
And returning to the show, having been on a previous Homebrew Special, we have Rich Caller. Rich, hello.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Cheers.
Now, before we get to the beers and to the news, if you didn't listen to the flavours of the month regularly, then you would not only have missed last week's review of Bloody Notorious on Beavertown and Boneyard, but you would also have missed out on the news that the Beer O'Clock Show in its current form, i.e. me and Steve, is going to be calling it a day in a few weeks when I hang up my podcasting headphones and unplug my microphone and disappear into the distance. So Steve's coming back with something a little different, but under the same name in September. But before all that happens, we have a bit of a farewell event going on at Hot Burns and Black, our old friends in Peckham, on the 4th of August, which is the day after my birthday, please note. Steve, what's in store at that little event?
Basically, it's going to be a bit of a celebration, a bit of a party of all things Beer O'Clock. We're also going to be very lucky to have some beers that we've brewed in collaboration with two of probably the UK's most hottest breweries right now. So we've got our Echo Peach, which is the salted peach IPA that we recently brewed with Northern Monk. That's going to be on the taps. And we've also got a beer that we brewed with Andy Parker of Elusive Brew. That's also going to be on keg and cask. So we're going to have a bit of a keg and cask off with those beers. And we're just going to have a bit of a good time, a bit of a reminisce, a good few beers, and probably a tear or two from me, no doubt.
And it's all going to be recorded, but you can get your tickets. Check out Hot Burns and Black's website, and also check out Twitter feed, because we've got the link to the Eventbrite page. It's 10 quid, and you get 4 beers out of that, so it's not too bad at all.
Yep, absolutely. And as I'll put a link in the show notes, so if there are any tickets left by the time this comes out on Friday, people will be able to grab them from there.
Indeedy. So we've got one news item, I think, Steve, if you want to...
We have, and it was just, I mean, obviously, other than that, which was obviously the major news from last week, and, you know, I don't think I've ever seen Twitter grind to a halt like it did last week, mate, when we announced that we were ending the show. It was like there were people weeping in the street and all sorts. It was emotional scenes.
They got over it quickly, though.
They did, yeah. By Thursday, it was all done and forgotten. Obviously, this tonight is the last Homebrew Special that we're going to do as well. So the three guys that we've got on are kind of going to be a little bit of a part of history as well, because this is possibly the last time we'll do this. And tonight's news very much links into that, because in the week, I think you remember on last week's show we spoke about how Thornbridge had released the news about the annual homebrew competition that they do with Waitrose. Been running 3 years now, quite an established competition. Well, last week, the most punk of punkiest breweries announced that they'd be doing Brewdog, which is a homebrew competition with that well-known punk supermarket Tesco. So pretty much same sort of thing, but I think they're actually offering a job at the end of it as well.
Oh, wow.
So if you win, you get a full-time job as a brewer with Brewdog. Now, obviously, having three homebrewers on the show, I wanted to get their views on whether they were going to be having a punt at that one or not.
Well, I'm always competitions, so I'll probably stick a beer in, but there's no way I want to move to Aberdeen.
Yeah, I might have a go, but I'll have to move down to London, I think.
Yeah.
Dig your heels in, yeah.
Sounds like a good idea, but yeah, I'm quite happy doing what I'm doing at the moment by myself.
Okay, so that's a resounding meh from our guests.
It's good.
I guess in that case, should we just move on and start drinking some beer?
I think we should. So let's get into beer number one. This is the American IPA, 5.5% from Nostromo Brew, aka Rob. It's called Prime. Is that the name you've given it?
Yes, it's gone for Prime in the end. It's gone through a few different names, but decided to stick with that.
big old bottle as well.
Oh.
So let's see. I didn't bring a towel with me. I normally should bring a towel with me to homebrew specials because I tend to go everywhere. But I'm hoping that you've all carbonated your beers adequately tonight. But lovely smells coming out of this as soon as we start pouring.
Yep, pouring right now.
Oh wow, yeah, that's really juicy.
It was originally called Juicy, but there's quite a few other beers called Juicy, so I changed it.
Lovely copper colour. Oh, it's very active as well, which is nice to see.
Yeah, it's well done, isn't it?
So, Rob, why don't you go through what ingredients you used in this, mate? What?
Certainly, a little sip. Basically, so the grain bill is 80% Marisota. I'm going to get really technical now. 80% Marisota, 16% Munich, and 4% Crystal Malt, 80. And I've actually got a little sheet here I'm reading, so I've got everything prepared. And then the hop-wise, it's just just 2 hops, Citra and Mosaic. The interesting thing with this is that I didn't actually use any bittering hops. So all the hops were added in 25 minutes before the end of the boil, 5 minutes, and then dry hopping as well. So there's a lot more hops than normal I put into this. But it turned out all right.
Wow. Okay. Well, we've got 3 beers to get through. Let's get into this one, guys. And then any more questions for Rob, just start throwing them at him. So cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you very much. So what made you use those 2 particular hops?
Well, basically, when I started coming up with the idea, the recipe for this beer, I wanted to do something that I was inspired by my time when a few times I've been to America and drinking these really bold, strong IPAs, but they weren't overly bitter. They just tasted like pretty much drinking sort of a tropical fruit juice. So coming with that idea of just making something that's not overly bitter, but still has that real strong sort of fruity hop character. Obviously, Citra is the go-to sort of hop for that, and the Mosaic was chosen because it's got sort of almost berry-like flavour that can work with it, and it just sort of brings it all together and be quite a punchy flavour. But again, without the bittering hops, it means it's not too just destroying your taste buds.
I take it the Munich was American inspired as well.
Yes, yeah, it was. So, again, it's got a nice sort of that sort of grainy, rich, biscuity flavour. That again, a lot of American IPAs, a lot of the West Coast stuff use, and I think it adds a nice little colour to it as well. Makes it a lot more deeper than your usual IPA. But no, I love it. Yeah,
Keeping the crystal quite low in that mix.
Yeah. I wanted to add a little bit of crystal just to give it. This is all. I go from real conceptual. I'm not very scientific when it comes to this kind of stuff, but I like the crystal's got that sort of caramel toffee kind of almost sometimes people say raisin hint to it. So I wanted to put just a little dab of that in there as well, and just see how it came out. Yeah.
Do you say which yeast you used?
Yeah, it was. It's a Y yeast 1272, which is the American Ale number 2. So it's a variant of the American Ale yeast. And the reason for that, stop me from getting too technical, but basically, it's got a higher flocculence than the American Ale 1, which means it doesn't need filtering or anything like that, because I've got no way of filtering the beer. And it's got a nice fruity, it really sort of punches through that fruit quite nicely.
Where do you go to buy Y yeast in the UK? I've had trouble finding it.
I just get it from one of the homebrew shop online, and it comes through. And every single time I've used it, I've not had any problems. They usually come pretty fresh, and I've got like a couple of weeks to go before they have to be used, and they just stick in the fridge first thing as soon as I get them.
Are they the smack packs?
Yeah, the smack packs. But actually, we always use 2 packs rather than just using 1. And I'm a bit lazy with doing a starter and everything, so we just buy 2. Saves, it's a bit more expensive, but get the same result, and it's less effort.
What size is your setup, Rob?
Sorry, just having a sip. We do sort of roughly 25 litres. So when I say we, me and my mate brew together most of the time, and it was in the garage, and we just sort of do the average homebrew setup kit.
That's electric or gas?
Gas, but I'm going to be moving to electric because the burner we're using it's a bit rubbish, really. Yeah. and it gets cold at winter when we're outside.
I was going to say, do you have to boil outdoors if you're on gas?
I think if you've got good ventilation, you can do it indoors. We haven't got that, and again, really keep dragging everything outside into the back garden, especially in the winter when it's raining, or even when it's summer when it's raining still. It's just not very fun. Yeah, so going to move electric and keep indoors and keep warm. Yeah.
Well, there's lovely flavours coming off this beer, mate. I really like what bitterness you do get is from the malts. It's the malt bitterness, and it's not that kind of really astringent hop bitterness that you get from some IPAs. And what hoppiness you do get from it is just in the aroma and some of the top level flavours. Yeah. Otherwise, you're getting that lovely malt flavours coming through. It's really nice.
It's smooth, isn't
it? It's a bit maltier than the malt character is quite prominent for an IPA, I think. But again, like I was saying, I didn't use any bittering hops, which is a first for me. Never done anything like that. And it worked out quite well. I'm quite surprised, really. I was worried it's going to be just too sweet and there's no bitterness there, but yeah, it's all there.
Yeah, I think the maltiness comes from probably that Maris and the Munich, because a lot of the Americans use the Munich to make up for the fact their base malt is rubbish. Yeah. It's just come through with really nice sort of berry and dried fruit flavours. It's really nice.
It's I find it quite melony.
Yeah, it's got kind of that kind of fresh lightness on the very edges, I think.
This is you're the first people actually outside of me and my brew buddy that's actually drunk this. So yeah, your feedback's is quite appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah, Rob, you should probably give him a shout out as well, really, shouldn't you?
Oh yeah, my mate.
Sorry, the pair of you.
It's my mate Ian. He's not on social media. He's much more sort of reclusive guy than that. But yeah, he's the sort of the brains behind everything. He's the guy that is a maths student and is all into that kind of mechanical chemistry numbers side of things, whilst I'm the artistic crazy one.
Oh, so we got the wrong bloke on then.
Yeah.
That's a good combo. You need a bit of both.
Yeah. Can you say a bit about how you did the dry hop for this?
So you just, again, primary fermentation for about a week, made sure the sort of gravity was stable, put it into a new different fermenter, and it was 5 days. It's just an ounce of Citra and an ounce of Mosaic.
Right. Pellets, is that?
Leaves.
Leaves.
Yeah.
Which ounce is about 25 grams?
28 grams. 28. Yeah, sorry, I can.
I do proper modern measurements down there.
Yeah, that's the thing. All the American online stuff's always pounds and ounces, and sort of end up getting quite confused about it.
Yeah.
Any more questions about this American IPA from Rob?
So, can you talk a bit more about the fermentation?
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, we went with the American Ale 2. Again, it's more follicular than American Ale 1. It's got the same sort of nice high attenuation. Mark, if you want to ask any questions or anything, please stop me.
I'm still dwelling on the term flocculation.
Yeah, it's a wonderful word. So yeah, we've got very lucky. Managed to get a second-hand fridge. Got a temperature control unit set up on that, so we can actually keep the temperature really, really stable, exactly within like half a degree of what we want. So we've gone with, I think it was 18 degrees for fermentation, and I believe
isn't that quite low?
Yeah, it was. I mean, America again. I would say, I'm saying it's the American IPA. It's not exactly to style, but if you're going to go for a nice clean American IPA, you try and keep that fermentation relatively low to get sort of that dry, crisp finish. And if you go higher, that's when you start getting the fruity sort of characters out of it.
Okay.
And the American ale, you tend to prefer it a little bit cooler than the English ones.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you're measuring the outside of your fermenter rather than the middle of the beer, the middle of the beer is often warmer.
Yeah.
Do you have a thermo well on your fermenter, or do you just kind of tape a probe to the outside of it?
We just literally tape a probe straight onto it. Yeah, it does a good enough job, really. Seems to keep a good track of it.
So you're measuring the temperature of the actual vessel, not the beer inside it?
Yes, exactly. I mean, I believe you can probably get a device that you put inside it, but that would cost quite a bit of money. And
I've got a floaty thing that sits inside and talks by Bluetooth, but then I'm far too geeky a brewer.
That sounds pretty incredible.
Is that a Brewbit or Brewbot or something?
It's not. It's a well-related one. It's a brew something or other. Brewometer, I think it is.
Does that read gravity as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Wow.
It's a recent thing imported from America, but it appears to be working.
Just an amateur, though, aren't you, Rich?
I just like my geeky graphs.
It appears as though you've just tuned into the Homebrew porn channel.
This is why these type of episodes get all the listeners.
Yeah,
You get so much
absolutely.
food, you have to pay.
So, any final thoughts on this IPA? I really like it. I think it's lovely and clean, and I like the fact that you're not getting the bitterness from the hops. You're getting the bitterness and the flavours from the malts, and the hops are just there to really lift it up and give it a nice little top.
Absolutely, I'm going to agree with that. It's as fruity as hell, and it's so drinkable. It's so light in body as well. But like you say, the bitterness, it's a lightly spiced bitterness. Is all malty and it's all good, and it just balances so well with that juiciness. And you know, for once, I'm actually quite impressed with something that isn't a hop bomb.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Paul and Rich, any final comments?
It's warmed up a little bit for me, but it's still really good.
Yeah, I've left mine out a bit, and it's the bit of temperature allows it to get more fruit out.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
Oh, cheers, guys. Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah. Cheers, Rob. Thanks.
So let's move on to beer number 2. We're gonna hammer through these. This one is from Paul.
Yeah.
It's his Springtime in Amarillo saison. Nice label, mate.
Thank you.
Well done. 7% ABV in a nice small 330ml bottle as well. After the beast that Rob provided his in.
Did you see the picture of the size of the bottle that Rob had?
Yeah, apologies.
For tonight?
750. Yeah.
Yeah, 750ml like bomber of his own beer. Didn't send those out, did you?
Oh, the smell on this. Lovely.
That's quite.
Oh wow.
The saison and those yeast and those hops really come together nicely.
I've not had many bottles of this because I've been drinking it from a keg mainly.
So I take it this was bottled from a keg.
No, it wasn't actually. When I keg, I use cornies, and I get about 20 litres into that, and then there's roughly enough for 8 little bottles like this afterwards.
Okay, that's lovely.
You're another 25 litre.
Yeah, that's right.
Again, a nice active beer, lovely colour on it, which you would expect from a more crafty saison. Lovely flavour, well, lovely aromas coming off it, mate. That's what you'd expect.
It's almost like the picture on the bottle depicts like a summertime field, and it honestly is like you're laying in that field and smelling everything that's going on around you.
I prepared you with the label.
Nice orange
absolutely.
and lemon coming on the nose.
It's got almost spicy and that sort of peppery. Again, the saison yeast, that's really coming through well.
So let's get into this, and then we'll talk about what went into it. So cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That's really nice. I'm getting sort of grape and sort of stone fruity sort of flavours out of it. So peach and apricot, something around there. That's really good. So which of the saison yeasts was this?
So this was the White Labs Saison 2, which is number 566.
So not the 565 then.
Well, I've been warned by several people about how finicky 565 is, and the saisons I've done, I've not used that.
Yeah. 565 is the Saison de Pont yeast, and is famous for stopping.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm famous for not being very patient, so I'm not sure. Fine, good luck.
So, what's the malt bill and the hops on this?
Yeah, right. So the malts are all Belgian German type malts. So there's roughly 2/3 is Pilsner malt from Weyermann, and then most of the rest of it is a light wheat from Weyermann. But then added to that, there's a little bit of aromatic malt from Dingemans, and a tiny amount of chocolate rye, which I added mainly because I wanted to adjust the colour, but I also thought a little bit of extra pepperiness from the rye would kind of complement it. I have to say the Dingerman's aromatic malt is amazing smelling stuff. It's intense and sour smelling. And yeah, I was kind of having second thoughts about adding it, but it seems to have worked out.
I think that works really well. Yeah, now you mentioned the Rhine there, and yeah, that really does come through. It really works with the saison yeast. Yeah, surprisingly, again, yeah, it really does. It dynamically works well.
So, I mean, maybe I could be a bit more bold with the rye next time. So I only added a tiny amount of that.
Yeah, I don't think you want a huge amount of rye. I've had a few rye saisons that were just rye peppery bombs.
Yeah. Oh, and in addition to that, there was a fair quantity of sugar added. It's an American recipe. It's called for turbinado sugar, which I don't really know. I don't know if you can even get that in the UK. So I used Demerara.
Yeah.
Very similar. It's a light brown sugar.
Yeah.
I know of it.
So as for the hops, it's basically a single hop. It's Amarillo, hence the name. Oh, I should say that the recipe is not one that I've devised. It's a recipe by Drew Beecham. He's an American homebrewer who's pretty well known. He does quite a lot of writing. He's written books. And I got his recipe for this from the magazine of the American Homebrewers Association called Zymurgy.
Well, I have to say the Amarillo is a really nice touch for a saison. It really gives it a nice, slightly different dimension that you would normally get from a saison, I think.
Yeah, I like Amarillo. It's quite orangey and grapefruity, isn't it? And
It's been very variable over the years, because a couple of years back it turned to taste of sort of petrol station.
really,
It's got better again. So it used to be a massive marmalade hop.
mm-hmm.
But no, that's really good.
There's a nice little kind of orangey, candy-ish aftertaste to this, I think. That's what I'm finding anyway.
So if
Almost like a barley sugar as well.
if you let it warm up, that gets really pronounced.
I've got to say, it's very reminiscent of the Duvel single hopped Amarillo version as well. Having had that fairly recently, it's got a lot of very similar characteristics to that.
When you say you added the sugar, roughly how much sugar was added to this? Like, how much gravity did it add?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's see. So the grain bill's about 6 1/4 kilos, and the sugar was 250 grams roughly. So I guess that's about a 24th.
Yeah.
Of the whole grain bill.
Quite low for a Belgian style, but yeah.
Yeah, you could add more.
I'm really surprised looking at it right now how clear it's come out as well. For a saison, it's just really, really crystal clear for me.
Is it typical to put sugar straight into a Belgian style or a saison?
The saisons is a sort of 50-50. Some people do, some people don't. I mean, the Abbey ones almost always have sugar in them. They're usually the candy sugar.
Yeah.
For colour. Saison is an option just to keep it nice and dry.
Yeah, I think the higher gravity ones often have it, don't they?
Yeah.
Funnily enough, quite a lot of British brewers also add sugar into their work to sort of pump up the gravity quite often as well.
Okay.
Yeah. They won't tell you that, but they do.
Because I've been looking around, because like I told you guys before we started recording, I'm going to be getting into home brewing, and I noticed on the homebrew shops, especially the one that I plan on going to, they had the Belgian candy sugar. And I was thinking, people actually put dump sugar into a beer?
Oh, absolutely. So especially, Belgian styles in particular, it sort of gives you a bit more strength while not building the body up.
It's been done for centuries in British beers as well, brewing sugars, invert sugars, that kind of thing. If you look at the historic recipes, they often have them.
Okay.
It doesn't really impact much on the flavour. It just boosts up that alcohol content.
Right, does it basically give the yeast more to chew on?
Exactly. I mean, one of the tricks is to add the sugar later, because yeast prefers to eat raw sugar than maltose. So you chuck the sugar in late in the fermentation, so the yeast doesn't have the option just to chew that and then die.
Does that lengthen your fermentation process?
A little bit, but not by much. You just stick it a few days in.
Okay.
So on this saison, this is a saison yeast like it fairly warm usually. So was this fermented quite warm?
Yeah, that's right. So I started it reasonably cool at about 19 degrees. but I started ramping that after the second day of fermentation, and I took it up to 25 degrees by day 4.
Oh, wow.
And it was held there for about a week. And then after about 9 or 10 days, I crashed it down to, well, as cold as I can get in my setup, which is about 6 degrees.
That's still quite chilly for a saison yeast. I think I've had them up to 30-something.
Yeah. I was reading the comments on the White Labs webpage about this particular yeast, and there were folk there who were talking about taking it that high. I was a bit nervous about it. Yeah, I mean, I've done some beers in the past which have come out a bit hot or a bit estery, and I was not sure quite how high I should take this.
Yeah, I think the ramp's a good idea because that allows it to do its multiplication at a relatively low temperature, where most of the flavour comes from.
Right. Yeah.
Then use the higher temperature just to chew through the rest of the sugar.
Uh-huh. I suppose if you do it too fast, you might stress it.
Yeah.
Steve, what do you think of this saison, mate? Because I know you're not a huge fan of saisons.
My preferred style, no, but I'm enjoying it actually. I think it's got a lovely balance of kind of the, as I said earlier, the Amarillo flavours coming through, which is giving it, it's lifting it a little bit, it's giving it a little bit of juiciness, a little bit of fruitiness in there, but it's got a very classic sort of saison background to it as well. So it's more on the side of the saisons that I do prefer, which are more the traditional ones rather than kind of the modern crafty take of brewing funky stuff, which are the ones that I don't really get on with.
I did another saison a few months ago where I used a different one of the White Labs yeasts. It was 568, which is their saison ale blend, I think, and that one produced a much more phenolic kind of aromatic. It was really clovey and a bit petrol-y, and I wasn't sure if I liked it very much. So I feel like I much prefer the 566.
I've started using a blend of yeast for saisons because of 565 being awkward. I use 565 and 3711, which is the Y yeast French saison.
Okay.
Do you guys use liquid yeast or powder yeasts?
Well, this one was a liquid yeast. But I only use liquid in about a third of my brews because just needs a little bit more advanced preparation. And you can get really good results just using the Safale dry yeasts, and I do that for quite a lot of my beers because it's convenient. Like Rob said, if you chuck in 2 packets, you've got a better chance of having a nice healthy fermentation.
There's also all available in dried yeast now. There's all the classic ones that we've had in the UK for ages, the Windsors and Nottinghams and Safale 04 and 05. There's also Danstar yeasts and things, it's not Danstar, Mangrove Jack and things, who will do you saison yeasts and lager yeasts and all sorts of things as dry yeast. Personally, I still mostly use liquid, but I keep a big stack of dry yeast in case anything goes wrong or I just fancy brewing and haven't had time to buy something.
Yeah, it's good to have an emergency supply, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Okay, any final comments on this lovely summer saison from
I was just going to say, as saisons go, I think personally I prefer the ones that aren't so funky. A lot of the saisons I've had recently have had that sort of slight, just a bit too much funkiness, just personal preference wise, but this one's really clean. You know exactly what it's doing, and it's come out really, really well. Really nice.
That's
How about you?
So I'm enjoying that. I mean, you could dry it out a fraction more, but it's really good.
How about you, Steve?
I'm happy. Yeah, I mean, it's what we've done 8 of these homebrew shows now. It's the first time I've had a saison, and it's come out really well. It's a really good saison. It's a really, really good example of the style and how you can play around with it to bring a little bit more flavour to it. So yeah, cheers, Paul. That was a really enjoyable beer.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's lovely and sticky, lovely and clean. Got a kind of top end bitterness to it, which is quite nice as well. You don't get that in all saisons. A really classy little beer. So thanks, Paul.
Cool. Yes.
Right, let's move on to our third one. Yet again, it's in a Duvel bottle. Which I do.
That's a Duvel.
which people who remember the last show that Rich was on, his beer was also in a developmental.
Yay! We got through a homebrew show without a bottle exploding.
Shocking.
So this is the 7.5% Dim and Peckish Bourbon Barrel Aged Export Stout with Brett. So thanks, Rich.
Just for you.
Everything Mark loves in a bottle.
Oh, lovely nose on it though. That's
The aroma on that is stunning.
Yeah.
It smells like Christmas.
Oh, what a great shout! It's in a good way though. It's not like somebody's tried to brew a Christmas beer and have created something that ends up smelling like Christmas.
Yeah, someone hasn't chucked a gingerbread man into a vat of beer and called it.
It has
something
got all of
special.
those really good, really nice Christmas spices in it.
Yes, exactly, yeah. Oh,
It's a little bit twiggy, fruity, boozy.
Yes, boozy is definitely right.
Right, shall we get into it, guys?
Yeah, let's.
Cheers. why not?
cheers. Oh, wow.
That is as smooth as anything.
Very, very slight burn on the back, which is quite nice.
That's a really complex flavour, yeah, I like that.
Oh, kind of smoky wood as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in there. There's so much going on in there.
There's a few different stages, like obviously when it first hits your mouth, then you drink it, and then you let it sort of wait a little while, and then, yeah, there's a lot going on there. That's nice.
Yeah. So talk us through this beer, Rich.
Well, this was originally aimed to be an export stout like the Guinness export stout, but it got stuck. As in the fermentation just stopped, and it was tasting like a sweet stout, so the tropical stout like you get in hot countries where Guinness exports stuff to. So being me, I didn't like that, so I stuck some Brett in it. Which brought it down, and then just to add a bit more fun to it, some bourbon soaked oak chunks for a while. For a while, I think I may have left them in a day or so too long, because you get a lot more oak off chunks than you do off a whole barrel. But it was quite astringent for a while, but now it's improving. Recipe wise, it's about 80% pale malt, which is Maris Otter, 4% each of pale chocolate and roasted barley, 3% of Cara wheat, dark crystal, normal crystal, and special B. Special B to bring a lot of that dark fruit flavour in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then hopped with some leftovers for bitterness, which was some Fuggles and some Admiral, and some Willamette.
When did you add the hops, sorry?
Those are all at 60 minutes. Those are all bittering hops. I was basically using up my leftovers to do the bittering. And then some Bramlin Cross at 20 minutes to bring in sort of black curranty blackberry notes. And then fermented with the Scottish ale yeast, I think it was originally, and then some Brett Brucks just to bring it down, which is the White Labs 650, I think.
Can I just ask? I mean, this might sound like a bit of a ignorant question. Bramlin Cross must be known for that blackcurrant dark berry tendencies, because whenever that's in a beer that I drink, that's the flavour that comes through so strong. Is it known for giving off that flavour?
Absolutely, that's sort of its signature, really. I mean, I think the one of the beers in the last show I was on had Bramlin Cross in it that was really obvious.
Yeah.
For the same set of flavours.
It really works with this. Really does.
Yeah, it does that. It adds a little bit of dark fruitiness to it at the end. There's also, I'm picking up just a little bit of dark chocolate in there as well, which really balances out with that dark fruit and all of the other flavours that are going on in there.
There's a bit of plumminess coming through as well, which really, again, with that, with the hops, that's just coming. Yeah, it's wonderful.
That's partially the blend of crystals. The Special B brings sort of dark, almost sort of raisiny flavours in. Then some of the going up through the levels of crystal brings those plummy notes in.
Yeah, I think if you didn't have the plumminess and the black currant coming in, then it would just be like a really smoky, impy stout, which wouldn't that be that special? But having the fruits in there, it kind of gives it a little twist and it makes it really interesting.
You know what? It's making me want to reach for the cheese fridge.
Yeah,
it's one of those beers that I just want cheese with this because I just think that would work so well. Don't ask what cheese because all I'm going to say is all cheese.
Stinky
or any
cheese.
cheese. Just cheese. Just give me cheese.
Oh yeah, this warm fire in the middle of winter. This would be absolutely amazing.
Sorry, I said it to your summer show.
So what was the fermentation on this, Rich?
Well, so originally it was this. I think it was a Scottish ale yeast. Held at about 20 degrees, I think. And then it just stalled. Stopped at about 10, 20 something ish, leaving it as just very sweet beer. So, I chucked some Brett into it just to drag it down. I mean, you sort of have a choice at that point of either staying. Well, the choice of three ways: staying as a sweet beer, sticking some champagne yeast in it, which will eat almost everything and leave you as dry as a bone, or using Brett, which will eat some of the other sugars out. And being me, I stuck some Brett in it.
With the Brett characteristic, was you expecting? Did this come how you wanted it to? Because it can add a bit of other stuff to it.
Yeah, there's a little bit, I think, of the sort of leathery notes in there. That, it hasn't gone full barnyard.
No, not at all.
It's not that Bretty a beer though, is it?
Yeah, there's a touch there at most. It's just another element to it. Is what I was aiming for.
It's giving like a ever so slightly sour hint in the background, but it's not like massively changing the flavours of it. I think it's working with all the other elements of that beer, and it's coming together to produce this incredible final product.
I'm getting the bread on the nose more than anything else. And smelling it, you can really pick it up, in my view. But
there's a big wafter when he opened it, wasn't there?
Yeah. It's so weird. Each mouthful is an experience. It's like it changes while it's on your palate. It's just very peculiar, but interesting and nice. Good work.
Rich, when you've had Brett like this, how do you know when it's going to stop, and how do you decide when to bottle?
Well, with Brett, you're a bit. Bottling it is a bit tricky. I mean, this went into a keg, so this has come off keg several months after I made it.
Okay, so you're confident that it's finished.
So I'm confident it's out, and I haven't added any more sugar to it, so it's not going to kick back off again.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's had plenty of time.
out of interest, how did you bottle it with from a corny keg?
This one was with a sort of, how would I call it? Sort of hillbilly counter pressure filler made out of a
You MacGyvered your way out of it.
Yeah, so with the corny case, you can get these cheap party taps, which I glued a long piece of tube of metal onto and shoved a cork up it. That doesn't sound good, does it?
Garden hose and gaffer tape, isn't it?
Yeah, with some gaffer tape. Gaffer tape was involved at all points in this. But since I've moved on to using a beer gun, which I'm finding really good.
I was going to ask, did you use a beer gun? But would you recommend it?
Definitely. I mean, I had all sorts of issues with foaming with my MacGyver counter pressure thing, and haven't had any issue with it with the beer gun.
Did you get the Blickman one?
Yeah. The Chinese one is apparently identical.
Okay, is it just me, or is anybody else thinking, what the fuck is a beer gun? Why do I need one?
It sounds.
A beer gun is a piece of kit that allows you to bottle beer flowing very slowly into the bottle so it doesn't foam up. And it also allows you to dump some CO2 into the bottle at the beginning so there's no oxygen left in there.
Okay, so it's not what I thought. I can't like wear a holster with one in either side and just fire beer into my mouth whenever I want it.
That would work.
Okay.
Made by a guy in America called Blickman, who does all sorts of very high-tech kit.
It's a bit more of your kit then.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Blickman's the one to go for if you're into your kit.
And have a lot of money.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, any final comments before we get into the hop onions on this? Okay,
Stop calling it hop onions.
I can't stop reading it as hop onions now.
Paul and Rob, do you have any final comments about, or questions really about this beer from Rich?
I've really enjoyed it, and I wish I had another bottle for in the cold in a few months' time.
That's a really complex beer, but there's so many layers to it and so many levels to it. There's nothing bad there. It's all every single element, every single stage in which you're drinking it. It just comes out really well. Really, really, really impressed with it.
Cheers.
Yeah, I can only agree with that as well. And I also want to just thank Rich as well, because Rich wasn't originally supposed to be on this show and he stepped in at the last minute.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks for that, Rich. So 3 great beers on this show.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for sending them in. It's been an absolute pleasure to drink them, but we're not letting you go just yet because we have some hop onions to get through. So, Steve, let's go.
Okay, so this week's opinions. let's make sure we're on brand with this one. It was a very simple question this week: find or unfind. How do you like your beer? 151 votes, 86% of the voters went for unfind. A few comments that I just want to pick up on, and a few that educated me as well. So I've learned something this week. Beer is the answer. So that's Martin, who was on at the beginning of the series, at MJPO007. I said, can we have a don't care as long as it tastes good option? Now there was a few people that said that about this week's poll, and the simple answer is no, because if I keep putting them in the polls, it gives everybody a get out. So you either go for the options that are there or don't take part. It's as simple as that. The other 3 comments that I'm going to focus on this week were where I learnt something this week. Now, I didn't realise that the fining process makes or doesn't make a beer vegan or vegetarian, and that's what a lot of these comments were focused on. So Matt Curtis at Total Curtis said unfined because it doesn't just mean hazy. In fact, if cellared well, most unfined beer clears up beautifully, but unfined beer is veggie or vegan friendly, and that's a whole lot more important than how it looks. That was very much backed up by Daniel Drett at R. Lemkin. Regardless, they should label them if vegan or vegetarian. So many just don't bother, and for some it's a big deal. And also Oliver Cunningham, who's at Fork and Carrot. From a vegan perspective, definitely unfined. However, I would love to see more breweries clearly labelling their beers as such. So, and I kind of focused on this one this week because we've got obviously 3 home brewers. And I don't know, guys, do you guys use finings in home brewing, or do you just kind of let nature take its course?
You can do. I do in some beers.
So where do you stand on fined or unfined beers then in that case?
I mean, the words I'd throw in is there are ways of finding beer that are vegetarian, vegan friendly, but they're harder, obviously, than the ones that aren't. But in the end, it's the brewer's choice. I will stand on the fence a bit on this one, but however the brewer wants to present their beer, that's their call.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I'm maybe it's a bit too traditional. I like my beer clear unless it's an actual style that shouldn't be clear, which means you have to chuck a bit of finings in there. But yeah, I completely understand. I've got a lot of vegan friends that want to drink beer, so I can understand both sides there.
Yeah, I didn't, and we will come on to Paul for his comment, but I didn't. I must admit, again, a little bit of ignorance. I didn't get that because essentially, finings in the brewing process is fish guts, isn't it? Which kind of helps to clear up the beer.
It's a fish-derived product.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I thought it was fish guts. More ignorance. Brilliant. Doing so well tonight. I just get my coat and you guys just finish off for me, yeah?
Let's try to throw a whole fish in, that'll be fine.
Brilliant. Excellent. There you go. Fish-flavoured beer.
What are the vegan options then?
Some of anything that will grab protein will do it. There's some clay-based products that will start to pull out the proteins because of the haze is protein-based.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few,
Gelatin ones, right?
sorry, what was that?
There are gelatin products you can use on
Yeah,
them.
unfortunately, that's also animal based.
Oh, is it?
I believe the veggie gelatins, which are chemically produced, will also do it. It just needs to be something that will grab protein and fall out of the beer.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's a lot of commercial products that will do it.
No, it's a bit. Sorry.
Go ahead, Rob.
I was going to say, it's a bit of an off-topic, well, slight diversion from this, but you've got something called Clarity Firm, which I've heard a lot about. I've not used it, and that's a sort of again a findings that actually makes your beer gluten-free within this sort of scientific reason. I don't know whether or not that's also sort of vegan-friendly, but it'll be something interesting to find out. But yeah, you can literally chuck this stuff in there, clears it out, and it makes it, removes any of the gluten from it.
But yeah, that's the Clarity Firm.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that will take out your chill haze more than your just general haze. But yeah, no, it's good stuff. It does make it gluten reduced officially.
Yeah, is it vegan friendly?
I don't know.
Idea?
Not this week's topic, but it seems to have gone that way. Paul, did you have anything to add to this debate?
Well, not much. I've tried using the gelatin-based methods of clearing e-beer, and to be honest, most of my beers, after I've fermented and then I've cooled them and then let them rest a while, they're clear enough anyway, so I don't bother.
Okay.
And I'm not fussed by clarity as a drinker myself, so.
Well, hazy beers seem more luxurious, don't they?
Yeah, but that's possibly a debate for another day, isn't it? So if you want to get involved in opinions, you can still get involved in this week by using the hashtag opinions, and there will be another line along in time for next week's show for you to get involved in.
Yeah, and so prize, Steve. I know you wanted to award it to yourself this week.
You know what, right? I'll tell you what. Why not just go onto Instagram, search Cheers Guys, and choose your own prize this week.
Your photo was very nice, though.
My photo was the best picture on there by far this week, and I'm having to choose someone else. I don't think it's fair. I really don't. Here you go. Look, have your prize. This prize. This one's for you, just because you'll like the name. It's at world_of_Waltcraft. You'll like that one, Mark. Picture of a bottle of beer in front of a glass of beer. Congratulations, you can have a prize box. If you want to take part next week, put a picture on Instagram, use hashtag Cheers Guys, and you can possibly win something. Move on.
Right, well, let's, in order, Rob, Paul, Rich, can you tell us where people can find you online? Let's start with Rob.
Yep. So on Twitter, it's Nostromo Brew Co. That's all one word. Otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much it. It's on Twitter.
Okay. Paul, how about you, mate?
I'm Hadfield P on Twitter and most other things.
Okay. Rich?
And I'm Arcala, and come along to Manchester Homebrew and meet me there.
Fair enough. Many thanks to Ales by Mail, Beautiful Beers, Bee Merchants, Ebury and Hopburns and Black, who all now offer a 10% discount to Beer O'Clock Show listeners on any beers from their website. Just go to our website, which is beeroclockshow.co.uk, click on the Season 10 beer list, and all the promo codes and links and all that kind of lovely stuff is at the bottom. You can find us on Twitter at Beer O'Clock Show, on Instagram at Beer O'Clock Show. Steve is on Untapped at Beer Show Steve. I'm on Untapped at Beer Show Mark, and I'm also on Twitter at Beer Show Mark. Steve, what is coming up next week, buddy?
Next week we have we're into our final 3 studio shows now, mate. So we're building to a big finale. Next week it's another couple that are joining us. We've got Bob and Sarah Maxfield joining us, and they're bringing some beers from the Fixed Wheel Brewery. Now, not sure what those beers are yet. They're due to arrive this week, so quite excited to see what we're going to be featuring next week.
Very good. Rob Woodland, Paul Hadfield, Rich Caller, thank you very much for joining us with these excellent beers. They've been fucking tasty.
Cheers, guys. It's been a real pleasure enjoying these beers with you.
No, cheers, guys.
Yes, thank you.
And Steve, until next week, buddy.
It's been the highlight of my week.
And mine. Bye-bye.